Welcome to the Viking Age podcast, the official podcast of the VikingAge.com. We are live on a Monday morning. At least I'm pretty sure we are because I can't understand this interface. But we are live. We think we are right here. My name is Chris Schad. I write for the Viking Age, Zone Coverage, Bring Me the News, and the Brookings Register. My co-host is Adam Patrick, managing editor of the Viking Age. We do this every Monday with a late week episode right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. We're also in podcast form on Apple and Spotify the very next day. But however you consume us, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode and we can spread the word to the masses. You know the drill on Monday if you're a regular listener, but we will acknowledge someone, of course, later in the show. We'll preview Sunday's matchup against the Atlanta Falcons. But first, we need to overreact to Sunday's win against the Arizona Cardinals. That was never in doubt. I felt comfortable the entire 60 minutes. Lots of energy from start to finish. And I'm just bullshitting you. I'm still trying to wonder what the hell that was. But as usual, I will give Adam the option to defer if he would like as we start our overreactions for the day. So, Adam, go right on ahead.
Yeah, I'll kick things off since yesterday was I think we were texting back and forth during the game about how just boring it was because it was 12-6 midway through the third quarter, and it was just a battle of field goals, and it was just I don't know what was going on with the Vikings offense, but it wasn't clicking against the Cardinals defense, and maybe that's more due to the play of the Cardinals defense than we thought. Apparently, they've been playing well the last few weeks, so good for them. But the Vikings squeaked it out, as they typically do under Kevin O'Connell, coming back and winning one-score games. So, what, 23-22 is the final score? Yeah.
Oh, let me look. But
I believe
go
so.
ahead.
So yeah, they won the game, and they're 10-2, tied for second in the NFC, but not really, because if the playoffs began today, they'd be a fifth seed with 10 wins, which is great because that's what everyone loves to see. But anyways, my first overreaction of the game is that Aaron Jones sealed his fate with the Vikings on Sunday. I don't like to start things off on a negative because the Vikings won again, but it's an issue that needs to be talked about because Aaron Jones, he just he can't stop fumbling. He fumbled twice yesterday in the first quarter. One was recovered by the Vikings, thankfully, but another was recovered by the Cardinals. He's now fumbled 4 times in the last 3 games and 6 times total this season, which is already the most fumbles he's ever had in a single season in his NFL career. Um, it's clearly a problem. Maybe it has something to do with his injured ribs. Maybe he's not holding it as close to his body as he typically would because his ribs are injured and it hurts more. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. When he's not fumbling, he's been a great addition to the Vikings offense. Really good as a pass blocker, a rusher, a receiver out of the backfield. Obviously, he caught that touchdown yesterday. The second attempt at catching a touchdown. But either way, I think unless he's willing to return on a cheap 1-year deal, I think the Vikings will probably look to move on from Aaron Jones after the season and look elsewhere, either in free agency or in the draft, because I believe this upcoming draft class is going to have a number of solid running backs to choose from in the first few rounds of the draft. So I've enjoyed Aaron Jones being on the Vikings, but I also don't enjoy him fumbling every single game because it's a problem, and I don't really know what the Vikings are going to do to fix it. So
Happy birthday to Aaron Jones today,
happy
by the way.
birthday, Aaron
Yeah, he
Jones.
turns 30 years old. And we want to put him. That's the thing. How he's 30 years old, and we treat running backs like old Yeller. They don't matter anyway. Like, the 49ers did just fine when Christian McCaffrey's knee. It's his knee, not his Achilles or calf or anything that we've been trying to hide all year, but it's his knee.
Yeah.
Even though it looked like his left Achilles
Yeah.
and steroids wore off. I'm not too upset about McCaffrey. Only that I had him in a guillotine league, and was trying to hold off the guy that got a passing and receiving touchdown on the same play. God, I love fantasy football. Anyway, Aaron Jones. I'm looking at his stats right now. He's going to have 1,000-yard season. He's probably going to have 5-6 touchdowns. Pretty good year. But like the fumbling thing is a major issue. And the thing is in the NFL, when you start fumbling more because teams know. They're like, hey, if we punch the ball out, we're going to probably get it. He's going to put it on the turf. And that's what happened. You're in the doghouse too when you only have 5 carries in a non-injury related role. Ty Chandler was playing. Like, do you realize how bad the Vikings don't want to play Ty Chandler right now? Like, I mean, there's the Cam Akers joke, but I mean, like,
he's not terrible.
That is like an ultimate sign of, this needs to stop. And, I like Aaron Jones overall. Yeah. Good dude. He's been a great addition to the team. You saw what the offense did with him on the sideline for most of the first half, which was just about nothing. But you also need to, you got to figure it out. You got to figure out how to take care of the ball, because if he's not on the field, this offense just doesn't look the same. So I think it was obvious the Vikings were going to draft a running back no matter what, even coming into the year, because this is a strong class. Like, I've wanted Ashton Jeanty. I don't think the Vikings are going to be high enough to pick him or have the ammo to trade up for him. And I also think there's other needs on the team, which we'll get to in just a second here. But I also think that, Caleb Johnson from Iowa is out there. There's a lot of talent. I mean, Travion Henderson might be in there. Quinshawn Judkins, who broke college football 25 this summer.
Devin Neal from Kansas.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of running backs you can look at right now and put a starter's grade on. I don't know. I mean, and the other thing too, Aaron Jones showed up to the stadium and what did it say on his shirt? Like, if you doubt me, this is only, or something like that, and then he puts the ball on the turf twice.
It was like, I'll never forget that you always doubted me, or something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, if you wear that to the stadium, you might want to. Hey,
but you know what the Vikings didn't do when Aaron Jones was sitting out? They didn't turn the ball over.
They didn't. No.
So, it sucks because, first off, it sucks because it's his birthday and I'm ripping on him. Never like to do that.
Number one, but just right out of the gate.
It's better than getting cut on your birthday, which Nick Muse cannot say. Because that happened.
But that wasn't a big deal. He got signed to the practice squad 2 days later.
Yeah, I know. But it's funny because his brother got cut on his birthday too.
I'm sure they're like, hey, we want to bring you back on the practice squad. And then he just leaned into it on social media.
For sure.
Which also, you don't need to tweet everything. Like, that. Let's just get back again. Like,
but it's a problem. It makes everyone think back of last year when Alexander Madison and Hawkinson and Josh Oliver, like on the first drive of every game, somebody would cough up the ball, and Alexander Madison isn't here this year. So I feel like a similar outcome is going to come to Aaron Jones unless he can somehow quickly solve it. Maybe he's got to give, I'm showing my age here. Maybe he's got to give Tiki Barber a call and learn how to just hold the ball up here the whole time while he's running so he doesn't fumble the ball. But I want Aaron Jones to do better. I've really enjoyed his time with the Vikings. But if he keeps fumbling, I don't think the Vikings really have a choice other than to, sit him and then, not sign him next year.
Well, I know the Vikings won too, but I also have an overreaction, and it also happens to be what happens next year. The Minnesota Vikings need 3 new starters on the offensive line, and I'm pretty sure you can guess where they need to be. The Vikings offensive line as a whole yesterday allowed a 13% pressure rate and allowed Sam Darnold to get sacked 5 times. Do you want to guess where those pressures came from, Adam?
Not the outside.
Actually, Brian O'Neill gave up 2 pressures, but Garrett Bradbury allowed 2 pressures at center. Blake Brandel allowed 2 pressures at right guard. And Dalton Reisner actually had a pretty good game. 88 pass blocking allowed pressure. So surprising, but I mean, you look at the season. I mean, Garrett Bradbury is like king of allowing pressures in the middle. He's a good run blocker, but that's about it. And then you have Ed Ingram, who was deactivated yesterday. Scratch, and you're basically asking Dalton to save the day. How much longer do you want to do this? And I understand too, Blake Brandel said the Cardinals were loading 4 guys on one side of the line. That's why they were having trouble, keeping pressure. But I mean, Dalton Risner is an average player who can't run block to save his life. So when you look at the Vikings running game, that's a big thing. And you also have, Josh Oliver being out. That also hurts. But Garrett Bradbury is a marvel to modern physics as a 300-pound man who can just fly through the air with a stiff breeze. That dude is like Lloyd Christmas at the truck stop, finding out that somebody's meeting love at 2 a.m. and it's Seabass kicking down the door. But Seabass is just Kenny Clark or Hicks or whoever it is, or any functional defensive lineman in football. Then Blake Brandel looks good, probably because of what we've had over the past 12 years with the Vikings. Oh my God, Brandon Fusco is not coming back. What are we going to do? Dakota Dozier, Drew Samia, Josh Klein. You remember Josh Klein? You throw Ed Ingram on the pile after yesterday. Like, if there's one thing this team needs to do this offseason, it's get some beef in the middle of that offensive line, because I don't care if it's a scorched earth rebuild. I don't care if it means putting Michael Juergens at center, just a different face in place of Garrett Bradbury. Fix the damn problem. Use your draft capital, which are we down to 2-3 picks now? But maybe we'll get a third because of something we'll talk about later. But I mean, enough. Like, I'm sick. And Sam Darnold didn't help his case too. Like, he held onto the ball for 3 seconds. I looked that up. It was the 5th highest in week 13 or whatever week we're on. Like, I'm sick of the Cards being like this thing I watch every week, and it's like, oh, we're allowing pressure up the middle again.
Yeah, it's I never enjoy the excuse when people are like, "Oh, well, Garrett Bradbury's a good run blocker, or so and so's a good run blocker." Okay, that's great, but Kevin O'Connell doesn't like to run.
Yeah.
So why are we putting an emphasis on keeping these guys because they're good run blockers when he wants to pass most of the time? So wouldn't you want, guys that can actually pass block? And yeah, the Garrett Bradbury thing, like, I could go on, and we have over the entirety of this podcast, the existence of it, about Garrett Bradbury and how he shouldn't have been re-signed, and so none of this is surprising. And you know what? They'll give him a new extension next year because he's a great leader.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's better out there? I don't know anyone. So like, it's a problem. It's been a problem even before Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah got there. You mentioned some of the guys that have been, through the rotational doors. You had Tom Compton in there for a little bit too. You had Joe Berger, who might be actually one of the best. John Sullivan way back in the day. He was probably actually one of the better centers that the Vikings have had in a while. Pat Elflein, we didn't mention him. He, the pride of Pat Elflein. But yeah, it's a problem. It's been a problem. It needs to be fixed. I think they should actually use probably some of just their free agency money on guards. Go out and get guys that are established, because it's tougher to find, I feel like, offensive linemen that can maybe make an impact immediately in the draft, especially when the Vikings have a limited amount of draft capital at this point in time. But they have a pretty good amount of cap space, so I feel like they should maybe target at least a right guard and hopefully a center, if they feel like Michael Juergens is not ready yet. So yeah, and then Blake Brandel saying they're lining up more guys on one. Yeah, of course they're gonna do that because they know you suck on that side, so they're gonna line up guys on the side that you haven't been playing well. Jonathan Gannon's a pretty good defensive mind, so they're gonna do that. I think the Cardinals played well on defense yesterday, except for the last couple possessions. And I think Sam Darnold had a lot to do with them getting sacks too, but there was also guys coming up the middle, no one blocking them. Which is not good, because usually if you got someone coming up free, it's not from the middle, it's from the sides. So They got a bunch to work on because they can't do that stuff against teams like the Seahawks, Lions, and Packers and Bears, who they still have coming up on their schedule. Not so much worried about the Falcons because they don't have a pass rush because they didn't use their top draft pick on a pass rusher. They drafted somebody else. I can't remember. I'm sure we'll talk about it. My second overreaction is positive. Apparently, we should have just started with positives, I guess.
I know.
Maybe
I
next week
know.
we'll get into that.
It was such a weird game.
It
Like once
was.
it was,
It was. It
I
was.
wasn't I wasn't mad watching the first half.
No.
Like, sometimes when the Vikings don't play well, I get mad. Like it was more just like, what the hell is that going on? Like this was weird. And then
Well, I
like
think
they won and it was kind of like, okay.
I think it too is like the Cardinals are not a terrible team. And
No.
so everyone was like, if they lose this game, it's okay. It's not the worst thing. It's not throwing, 4 picks against the Jaguars and escaping out of there. Which Trevor Lawrence can't say today. So speaking of quarterbacks, after yesterday, I believe Sam Darnold he deserves to be firmly in like a legit MVP candidate. He deserves to be in the MVP conversation for this year because for the third week in a row yesterday, Sam Darnold did not throw an interception on Sunday in the Vikings win over the Cardinals. He's thrown 6 touchdowns, no interceptions in his last 3 starts. And so far this season, Darnold has a higher completion percentage than Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, more passing yards than Josh Allen, more touchdown passes than Josh Allen, Jared Goff, and Patrick Mahomes, fewer interceptions than Patrick Mahomes, and a higher passer rating than Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying Darnold should be a favorite for MVP. I still think probably Josh Allen's up there because I don't know who else is on the Bills offense besides James Cook at this point. But no one thought the Vikings were going to be 10-2 after 12 games a season, and I think Sam Darnold has a lot to do with their success. Yes, he has Kevin O'Connell pointing him in the right direction. Yes, he can throw to Justin Jefferson and T.J. Hawkinson and Jordan Addison. But I don't know how many quarterbacks in this league, probably less than a handful, that could have led the Vikings to that comeback yesterday because some of those throws were because those were made because Sam Darnold was the person throwing them. So I also think we've reached the point in the season where Sam Darnold needs to stop being the reason why people think the Vikings aren't a contender, where it's like, oh, they're 10-2, but they got Sam Darnold. It's like he's playing very well. So I think he needs to start being pointed to as a big reason why they've been so successful this year. So Sam Darnold should be in the MVP conversation if they, somehow win the NFC North still and get the top seed in the NFC. I mean, he should be probably a top contender for that MVP award. So we'll see. I just think he's played really well and still don't want him back next year.
Yeah, that was one of my overreactions coming up here, but like it's so weird. It is so weird because people are kicking the fraud label around with the Vikings again. A certain
No, not people.
What's that?
One person.
Yeah, one person.
We know who it is.
Yes.
Who ignores his own fraudulent team that he covers.
I don't think the Packers are frauds though. I think they're a pretty good team, but
they're just not as good as the Vikings, Lions. And I got something about the Eagles, so I don't even talk about them.
Okay.
But yeah, the Packers.
It is just funny. Like it's like, yeah, but Sam Darnold. Yeah, but Sam Darnold led a two game-winning drives against the Bears. Then he led another game-winning drive against the Cardinals this week. Like it's just kind of like it's a lazy take. It shows you don't watch the games because I think Sam Darnold's the reason Daniel Jones signed with the Vikings.
Yep.
And he goes, wow, that guy was a bust. Like, I want to learn under Kevin O'Connell and see what they're doing. And even if he's not the backup next year, if he's even in Minnesota, he'll be like, okay, like this is how they do things. Can we try and do this at the next stop? Or even, there are so many teams that run that McVay-Shanahan scheme now that, it might narrow down if it's between two teams that he's looking at. he might be like, okay, well, this one has the concepts that Kevin O'Connell had, and I really like that offense. Like, let's go do that. Like
Sam around to the Falcons.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's just like baptism like thing. Like, I will absolve you of all your football sins. Just purify yourselves in the waters of Lake Minnetonka.
Like being reborn or whatever.
Yes. Like
Like
dunk yourself in the lake of Axe body spray and stale beer.
Didn't Shawn Michaels do that?
Yes, he did. Yes, and I'm not making if you've done that before, I'm not making fun of you. I mean, it's just kind of what it is. It's like, Brian Flores was in that situation. Sam Darnold was in that situation. Like a whole bunch of people were in that situation. Like the reclamation of Sam Darnold isn't talked about enough. And like I said, it could wind up that Sam Darnold pisses his pants in the playoffs, and we're going, okay, well, this is over. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm going to hold on to my Sam Darnold take for one more because I got a prop and I can't really do the transition thing right now. So I'm going to stick with the Cardinals game, and then we can move on to our league wide takes because I think the Sam Darnold thing fits into the league wide umbrella.
Oh, I have no idea what you're going to talk about.
Oh yeah. You might have an idea. My number 2 overreaction. You were right, Adam. Congratulations. You were right.
I was right. You hear that? I was telling my wife I was right.
Yes. You referenced Anthony Barr's Christmas hangover game in 2021. Yep. And I told you last week, I said, no, everybody's excited. This team is different, right? But I don't know if people were just celebrating the fact the Wild have the most points in the NHL right now, or sorry, tied for the most points in the NHL after 20 games. Hang the banner. They're in their Vikings 5-0 era. So very excited times. They traded for David Jiricek. Okay, cool. You know how most of you strolled into work this morning, and I'm talking to you, the viewers and listeners right now, where I did the same thing Sunday night where I'm like, all right, guess it's back to work. Let's write some Brookings hockey recaps. That's how everyone from the players, the coaches, the fans that went to US Bank Stadium acted like for the first 3 quarters of the game. And I know the Vikings didn't give people a lot to cheer about for the first 45 minutes, but I was pulling a John Brown on X, like, hey, get some Coca-Cola. You got to drink a Coca. There was just no tempo on offense. Brian Flores dropped back against Kyler Murray. So, I mean, it made sense because you don't want him to gash you on big runs. But, I mean, Kyler Murray looked like there was nothing facing him. He was just like, all right, you're just going to run for 10 yards. Like, it was just very, very like he was playing Call of Duty or something at home.
You play video games?
Yeah. And everybody snapped out of it in the end, and it was fine. They won the game, but I mean, it was just a super weird game. Like, I don't know if people surprise their in-laws with tickets. Like, hey, we're going to go to the Viking game. This will be super fun. And the next thing you know, your tickets are in the sun and your mom's sitting across the stadium, and you look at your dad and you're just like, what should we go sit with her? No, that's her decision. Sorry. PTSD springing from me there, but yeah, I mean, it was just a weird game from an energy standpoint, and I'm glad they snapped out of it, but whoo, might need to bring a little more energy here.
So I guess we should be thankful then that the 2 of the Vikings' last 3 games are on the road. So they got at Seattle on December 22nd. They're home for the Packers December 29th. Maybe that's a kind of a
that could be a Christmas. I don't know. It's like in the middle. Like, some people are going to be doing the New Year's thing, so you'll be like, woo, and then other people will just be like, I just spent the last 5 days with my in-laws. I need to get out of the house.
Right, and then they got at the Lions on January 5th. So we will see. Yeah, I would like to say that it didn't. I think it was just a combination of multiple things yesterday, where those Aaron Jones fumbles kind of just took the air out of the crowd in the stadium, which we've seen before. Things like that, it just takes the crowd out of it. But at the same time, on on the first Cardinals drive, they were on offense first. They had the ball first. I didn't think the crowd was that loud when they were on offense, like third downs and stuff. Like we've heard that Vikings crowd get loud to the point where teams are committing 4 pre-snap penalties in a row. Towards the end it got that way because the game was closer and more competitive. But I don't know, maybe like everyone got smelling salts at halftime. During that game or something to wake him up. But yeah, it was a little odd. But yeah, we've seen this before, kind of like a holiday hangover or whatever, where you're just used to the last few days of just napping and hanging out and doing nothing and eating pie and whatever food. And then you're like, oh yeah, let's get up and let's go do something. And it's like, oh wait, yeah, we're supposed to cheer. So yeah, and then people are off this weekend, maybe when they wouldn't have been in the past. And so you got people that, maybe haven't been to a game in a while and they're going and they're just, I don't know. It was an odd home game and it reminded me of last year when like, what were they like 3-5 or 3-6 at home? Like
Yeah.
the home field advantage did not exist. This year, I think it does. It's back to that.
Mm-hmm.
And also like it was the Cardinals, like
Yeah.
probably arguably the smallest fan base in the NFL.
They're also the weirdest team in the NFL to figure out.
Yeah.
Like when you look at like all the contenders, like what you'd expect to like most of it, like Lions and Packers. We hate those guys, so like there's going to be an extra. But even like the Bears in a couple weeks, I think there's going to be an energy in the building because it's the whiteout game and like everything else. It's like this game. It felt like, sorry, I don't mean to rag on them. Actually, I do, but it is funny. It's like a wild game. Like if you go to a wild game, like people talk the team of 18,000, but like if nothing good happens, they just like sit on their hands and they're talked about, well, they're into the game. No, because I'm sitting in front of an idiot in a $600 Marcus Foligno jersey going, shoot every damn time. Like that's exactly what it felt like. And I mean, I wasn't there. I know a couple people who were there. It just felt like, I don't know, man. It was weird.
I've always just felt like the Cardinals, like the aura of them has always been just pretty bland and boring. Like over
Their
the years,
uniforms suck.
yeah, their uniforms are like super. I know there's passionate Cardinals fans out there like, oh yeah, we have great uniforms. They just redid them or whatever, and it's like, yeah, they're pretty boring. Even when they have like the black uniforms with the shiny helmet or whatever, it's like they've been like one of the most boring teams in the NFL probably for my whole lifetime, like going back to when they were the Phoenix Cardinals when I was younger, and they had Boomer Esiason and Jake Plummer, and
I
even
love
going
me some the snake though.
yes, and then now he like grows mushrooms
Yeah,
or whatever.
now he's like very out of the like, what are these mushrooms? Like,
Well, he went to Colorado and he went to the Broncos and he was like, "What is this place?"
even Aaron Rodgers, like, dude, you need to slow down.
But then they did have like the run where they went to the Super Bowl with like Carson Palmer and Fitzgerald and even that was just like, like
Yeah.
Kurt. Oh, I forgot about Kurt Warner. Former Viking Patrick Peterson too. But yeah, just the whole time of like during my lifetime, the Cardinals have just been, so I wasn't surprised. Like when they play, who are they playing? When they play the Bears and they have the winter whiteout. When they play just next week when they play the Falcons and some guy, Kirk Cousins. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a little louder next week for sure. I think people have been looking forward to next week's game more than they have been looking forward to the Cardinals game. But let me get to my last overreaction, or do you want to talk about Underdog first? It's up to you.
Let's throw Underdog out there. That way we get it out of the way. It's the place to play if you're a sports fan looking to win money while watching sports with over $5 million happy players and $2 billion won. Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all of your athletes' performances. Compete against other players by just selecting higher or lower on 2 or more of your player stats. You win up to 1,000 times your money. Let's turn every touchdown into a win with Underdog. Underdog is the best place to cash in on all of your football takes this football season. Which players are going off, which players are ice cold. Make your entries in just a few taps. Turn your sports opinions into real money. Underdog also has vulture protection. If you select a designated running back to score a touchdown in your pick'em entry and they get vultured, we will rescue your entry. And Underdog has a game known as Red Zone Rush, a game you won't find anywhere else. It's like Tinder, but fun. Just pick whether or not a player will score a touchdown by swiping right for yes or left for no. It's as simple as that. Plus, your entry will automatically be boosted, and you'll get a 51% profit boost when you play. I've been an Underdog player for years. I've used the Underdog Fantasy app, and you actually sent me a text on Thanksgiving morning with an idea to do a little kicker parlay. And shocker, it lasted until the final night.
One kick.
Frat bro Matt LaFleur, just the tip. What are you, 6? Like, anyway.
It was
he
Mike
did
McDaniel.
his job. He did his job.
Yeah.
But then there was Mike McDaniel ripping vapes and fuck. I'm funny. Yeah. Kick the fucking field goal, dude. I probably shouldn't swear on the Underdog read, but I'm just saying, kick the field goal next time. Because if he did, we could have won cash, and you could win cash too. Because download the app today, use the code The Age. That's all one word. You get up to $1,000 matched in bonus cash instantly. Download the app today. Use the code The Age. $1,000 in bonus cash. You just select higher or lower on your favorite players and cash in on Underdog. You must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts, Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. If you are concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, 1-800-639-8783. Or text next step to 53342. And in New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. All right, back to the overreactions. Your third and final, Adam.
Yes, well, I'm going to keep it real simple. Just 3 words for my final overreaction, and that is fuck the Eagles. The Eagles have the same record at 10-2 as the Vikings. And for whatever reason, they're viewed as more of a threat to the Lions, a team that only beat the Vikings by, less than one score. The Eagles are viewed as more of a threat to the Lions in the NFC than the Vikings at this point. So far this season, the Eagles have played an easier schedule than the Vikings, and then the rest of the Eagles' schedule is also easier than the rest of the Vikings' schedule. I'm also tired of people comparing Saquon Barkley's current season to 2012 Adrian Peterson, because yes, I would love to see Saquon Barkley see how he performs with 10 guys in the box.
He's a running back. He's a running back. He doesn't matter, Adam. Pro Football Focus is coming at my door.
I would love to see how he performs with 10 guys in the box on every snap, because his offense has Christian Ponder at quarterback and his receivers are Michael Jenkins and Jerome Simpson at wide receiver. But good luck with that, because he's never going to see that this season. That being said, Barkley is playing really well this season, but if he surpasses Peterson's 2012 rushing total in 17 games, it shouldn't count as, like, people are like, oh, he's on pace to break the rushing record. Yeah, because he gets an extra game. Like, why if we're gonna do this, we should probably make the record more based on rushing yards per game with a minimum of how many whatever games played. So, and also I don't like the Eagles. I don't like Nick Sirianni, the whatever vibe he gives off. Never liked the Eagles since 2017. And I just continue to not like the Eagles, and hopefully I would like the Vikings to be able to play them in the playoffs, not in Philly, because I think the Vikings have a very good rush defense, arguably the best in the league, and them going against Saquon Barkley, I think, would be an interesting matchup, because the Vikings don't have an Ed Donatel defense anymore, so it's not easy to run on them. Just ask James Conner. But yeah, real simple. Fuck the Eagles.
I will say I think the Eagles entered the fray as like a top team in the NFC. Like
They beat the Ravens yesterday. That was good.
Yes, I think, and Lamar Jackson crushes against the NFC in his career, and like he didn't look too great yesterday. So I mean, they're playing very well right now. I think the top 3 teams in the NFC. I'm going to put the Eagles 1. I'm going to put the Lions. Well, and I mean, it's because of this. Lions are banged up right now. Their front 7 is like all on IR. And then you also have, I mean, I know their offense can score a whole bunch of points, but ask the 98 Vikings how that worked out. So I don't know.
They should have. They probably should have lost to the Bears. I mean, they at least gone to overtime against the Bears. If anyone else with a brain was
call a timeout.
Like,
what is happening? Like,
it's so bad.
The reaction videos were just so good. Like, I don't want to say poor Bears fans because they're like, "What's going on? Call the timeout! What, Eberflus? What are you doing?"
Then the best part was,
him, They had him go to his press conference on Friday before they canned him. It's just like, well, the meeting ran long and we didn't want to tip our hand. Anyone could figure it out. You're gonna fire the dude.
Yeah,
like
you could postpone the meeting. You didn't have to, like, have it right then.
Yeah, I mean, you could have done it. You could have fired him on Saturday.
I think they're actually speaking, like the ownership and management, Bears management speaking today. And I think I saw someone tweet, like, I've been covering the Bears for 14 years, and this is my 5th press conference after a coach has been fired for the Bears. I'm like, oh, wow. Vikings fans think they have it bad. Like,
their owner also looks like Carter Peterschmidt from Family Guy. Lois's dad. Just pointing it out there.
Well, they're like in the category of like the Jets, the Bears, like the Commanders were in this before they moved on from their owner. Were like, you can sign whatever many players, trade for whatever many players, draft the best players in the league. Your team's not going to be good until you get new ownership, just because that's always going to hold you back. And it's the case with the Bears. And I don't really think it matters who they hire to be their head coach until they get a new owner. Like people are saying Ben Johnson should go there, and I'm like, I don't. If I was Ben Johnson, I'd be like, no. I
feel like coaches are getting or not more smarter. That's bad English. They're just getting smarter with what jobs selective. There's the word. Like, I just feel like some coaches will just pick whatever.
Brian Flores is a finalist for the Cardinals job.
Flores is young enough. He knows. He's like, yeah.
Well, he also doesn't have really a choice right now.
Right. Exactly. Which he should. I mean, he's a fine head coach candidate.
But he would,
and I think he's grown too since he's come here. So
he would be a good head coach for the Giants, but also not going to get hired there because he's suing them. So.
Yes. So like I was saying, I think Eagles, Lions, Vikings are in the same tier. Like that's my tier. Okay. Yes. I would do tiers because I'm not. I guess putting the Eagles ahead of the Lions is a little like aggressive. But I mean, I also feel like
you're not putting them super far ahead.
Right. I think it'll be an NFC championship game between the Vikings and Eagles. And if the Vikings can get the 1 seed,
they host the Eagles. Yeah, they have to do that.
But I also feel like here's the thing too, like
redemption in Philly.
Yes. Oh God, that would be so awesome. Like go to the Super Bowl by beating the Eagles in Philly, throwing their beer cans because they're mad at the team,
and then they would lose the Super Bowl.
Yeah, of course.
To the Bills.
That's to the Chiefs and satanic bullshit. Just like the Vikings are gonna win the Super Bowl. Is Taylor Swift flying above the state like the Undertaker in like the late 90s when he had that like Satan gimmick and he's like, I am so oh man. Apparently I need a Coca-Cola because I'm on something. All right. Should we get to the main event of the show?
Yeah. What's happening? Right. What's going
on? Just give me 1 second here. I need to
oh boy.
I need to get into character.
Okay.
I feel watching a wrestling promo the other day. I don't know if you've heard about the CM Punk pipe bomb, but I figured this would be a perfect thing to wear Just dusting off my old friend's jersey here. Hey guys, did you know it's Kirk Cousins week? Did you know it's Kirk Cousins week? Here's my overreaction. Don't make the same mistake the Falcons did. And this is like part one of my Kirk rant. So grab your popcorn, be seated, do whatever you want. Fontaine C says, bring him back. No, don't bring him back. I say the same thing also with Sam Darnold too, who you mentioned MVP candidate. I totally get it, but let's look at the team that did pay the quarterback. And I think Sam Darnold has been more than mediocre this year. I think he's been one of the best quarterbacks in the league, actually. Yeah. But reports from Diana Rossini of The Athletic, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, and maybe even one more I'm forgetting about, said that Kirk Cousins was playing for his future with the Falcons in the final 6 games, which is hilarious considering he just signed another 4-year, $180 million ironclad contract with a no-trade clause last offseason. Turns out the Falcons, stop me if you've heard this before, are struggling along the offensive line. Their weapons haven't been much of weapons. Their defense hasn't had a pass rush. Again, we'll dive into this more a little bit later, but Sam Darnold led a comeback yesterday, and he became the 3rd Vikings quarterback to post a passer rating over 100 in 10 games in a single season. You want to guess who the other 2 were? Because it wasn't Kirk Cousins. It was Dante Culpepper in 2000 and Brett Favre in 2009. And I'm starting to see it everywhere. Like, oh my God, the Vikings should keep Sam Darnold. They should totally do it. Not now, Blake. I can't talk. Like, they should totally keep Sam Darnold here. But I mean, Charlie Walters, who's been spreading bullshit since I was putting it in diapers, said JJ McCarthy could spend a redshirt year behind Sam Darnold. Alex Smith was on NFL Countdown Sunday morning saying the Vikings would be making a big mistake if they sign or don't offer a contract extension to Sam Darnold. He's basically Matthew McConaughey in the Interstellar meme. You know what I mean? Where, like, I don't know, he's like opening the door or something. He's like, no, they're going to put Mahomes in. They're going to put Mahomes in. Like, let's go over some of the things the Vikings need in 2025, because this is a very good team right now. This is a Super Bowl contender, but they need a running back. We already talked about that. We already talked about how they need some offensive linemen. A defensive lineman that could push the pocket would be pretty nice. Shout out to Jalen Redmond, who had a very good game yesterday. Got a game ball too. 2 starting corners, Cam Bynum. This is like the goddamn 12 days of Christmas. The Vikings have $75 million in cap space, but over the cap estimates that Sam Darnold is going to make about $35 million next year. The same number the Vikings declined when it came to Kirk Cousins. So odds are JJ McCarthy's leg isn't going to be amputated, no matter how bad we want to say that he had surgery. I swear to God, guys, he had surgery. Please click on my article. I swear to God. Like, even if McCarthy sucks, we're seeing what Kevin O'Connell can do with the quarterback. Kevin O'Connell is so good. He's like a rescue shelter for quarterbacks right now. Just like, oh, yeah, this guy, he had a tough life, man. Oh, I got it. And now he's going to go get $35 million. Like, Sam Darnold is a one-night stand. He's the same as Case Keenum. He's the same as every other, like, quarterback reclamation project the Vikings had. And, I mean, like, Vikings fans, too, they're like, so Cecil Lammey mentions this like set from Eddie Murphy's Delirious special back in the 70s. And like one of the things was like feed a starving man a cracker. And like if you give a starving man a Ritz, you know, this is the best damn cracker I've ever had. What is this? Is it a Ritz? It's salty. Man, dude, you got another one of those? And then, you know, you wind up marrying the girl and you roll over and like, how about the same damn crackers? Like, that is basically what Sam Darnold is. So you cannot make the same mistake. You can't invest those resources because it deviates from the plan. I like Sam Darnold. I think he's having a great season. I will defend him against, you know, the Stephen A. Smiths of the world. They go, Slava Medvedev, think, oh, you talk about that Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold got to play with LeBron, okay? Like, if LeBron were the quarterback of the Vikings, they win the Super Bowl. First take for you. But
it's funny. No, it's funny that you brought up Stephen A. because you see the clip of when the Vikings signed Daniel Jones, and he was complaining that it was breaking news because Daniel Jones, because he's backing up Sam Darnold. He's not backing up Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson. He's backing up Sam Darnold, who's 10-2 this year. Yeah, with the Vikings and Kirk Cousins, it's going to be an interesting game. I'm sure he'll be motivated. Maybe that's why he threw 4 interceptions yesterday, because he was just, looking too far ahead to next week to play the Vikings.
Oh,
But
golly gee,
what
frick. Oh.
would be the excuse for the previous 2 games where the Falcons were also annihilated? I don't know. But people are talking about benching Kirk Cousins for Michael Penix for next game. Really, you want to have a rookie's first game to go against that Vikings defense in US Bank Stadium? Go right ahead. Go right ahead. Please do that. That would be probably even better than whatever Kirk Cousins does. Yeah, as good as Sam Darnold's been, we've said this all along, unless he leads them to a Super Bowl, I would even just say an appearance. If he gets in the Super Bowl appearance, you can resign him. But if
the
not,
problem is he's going to get like a 4-year deal.
yeah, if he's smart, he'll get more money elsewhere, anyways, than he will with the Vikings, just because what they can offer. But you look back too at someone like Jeff George way back in the day in '99 with the Vikings, and how he came in and kind of had a resurgence and helped lead them to turn things around and help lead them to the playoffs. And then the Vikings were like, "That's cool, but we're going to roll with our quarterback that we drafted in the first round last year, Dante Culpepper." And that worked out because they went to the NFC Championship the following year. We're not going to talk about that final score. But then, and he had a pretty good career with the Vikings. So that's what the Vikings should do this year. Stick with the plan. J.J. McCarthy's been the plan. I feel like any stuff about, Sam Darnold or the Vikings need to sign Sam Darnold, especially coming from Alex Smith, he's just got PTSD from being shoved to the side for Patrick Mahomes, who's turned out to be, arguably the greatest quarterback in NFL history already. It's just funny it's coming from him. It's like it'd be like RG something about Kirk Cousins because he just doesn't like Kirk Cousins. But yeah, just go with the plan. Sam Darnold did good. You can get believe it or not, you can get a compensatory pick for him probably if he leaves and signs somewhere else. You can sign Daniel Jones for what? I don't know, $5 million. Keep him as your backup. Have J.J. McCarthy play. Hopefully his leg regrows before they return to the field next year, because it's only skin and bones right now.
Did you see his podcast too?
Yeah.
So he was on with Jake Butt, I believe is the
Still
LAB
hilarious,
podcast.
dude.
Yeah, it
Butt.
is. It's a great football name.
Hey,
too.
Mr. Butt.
Mr. Butt. Oh man, I'm sure when he was in second grade, he was like the most popular. Your last name is what now? It's Butt. Maybe he's doing like the Ace Ventura thing. Like, excuse me, sir. Do you have some Anaka? My name is Mr. Butt. I wanted to stand up and do it in front of the camera.
No,
but
let's not do that.
Fansided probably wouldn't like that very much. Oh, geez. I'll mention this before we move on, because I do want to get to a Vikings Falcons preview. And we still got to acknowledge somebody here. Jeff George was also 32 when he revived himself with the Vikings. So it was a little bit easier of a decision, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. The Sam Darnold thing, it's very, I mean, I get it, but it's like history is repeating itself because what we're seeing in Atlanta. Before we get to my second part of this Kirk Cousins rant, it's time for our favorite part of the show. Acknowledge him. So basically, in honor of our tribal chief, Roman Reigns, the original tribal chief, this successful tribal chief at War Games, pinning Solo Sikoa.
But did he
acknowledge? What's that?
Did he get the necklace back though? I don't think he did that.
He hasn't got the necklace, so like that's the next part now. Now it's like, when is he going to get the necklace?
Alafala or whatever.
Ulafala. Yes. And everybody watching this like, what are they talking about? Acknowledge him. Who do you acknowledge after Sunday's win over the Cardinals?
I'm just going to go with the person you actually told me to acknowledge on Saturday before the Vikings even played. It has nothing to do with the Vikings. It has to do with Fran Brown, head coach of the Syracuse football team. Powerhouse Syracuse led them to an upset over Miami this past Saturday inside the It's not the Carrier Dome anymore. I believe it's like the JW Wireless Dome or whatever now, because
Mm-hmm.
corporate stuff. Funny story. Carrier Dome for so many years just put air conditioning in a few years ago. So, Carrier is a air conditioning company. So
Yes.
it was great. Used to go to a lot of games there and sweat my ass off. He's led Syracuse to a 9-3 record this year, which is only the second time since 2002 that they've won 9 or more games in a season. He's restored Syracuse back to the glory days of Donovan McNabb, Marvin Harrison, Dwight Freeney, and most important of all, he's either earned himself a new massive extension from Syracuse, or he's probably going to do what we all think and pack up and leave and become the head coach of a more football-centric school. But still, I acknowledge you, Fran Brown, for the happiness that you have brought to Syracuse, because it's not really a place full of a ton of happiness. So I acknowledge you, Fran Brown, and enjoy your shower because you won the game too.
Ohio State job's opening up pretty soon, I think. Even though they're 10-2, and
he's like, he'd be like, dude, look what we just did with your old quarterback.
yeah. I'm laughing because too, it's like this entire weekend everybody tried to plant the flag at midfield, and like it just sparked brawls everywhere. Just like, you can't do that to our field. Okay, win the game then.
Right.
Like come on, guys.
I enjoyed the Arizona State one the most because that was like an actual weapon.
Yeah. Freaking tried it. Somebody pulls Brick Tamlin and stabs the dude in the heart.
The guy.
We killed a guy. Yeah, you might want to lay low for a while. I choose to acknowledge Jonathan Grenard, because this is another player we all looked at and said, you really think you can replace Daniil Hunter? Like, what? You better sign him. Jonathan Grenard this season leads the league in pressures with 60. He ranks 17th among edge rushers in PFF grade this year. He was going so hard, he couldn't even breathe before the fourth down play that sealed the game. It also turned out he had a cold, which probably would have sidelined him a couple years ago, knowing what we know, but it worked in that game. 5 pressures, a quarterback strip sack on third down that basically pushed the Cardinals back into Hail Mary mode on fourth down. And then he had a PFF grade of 42.6, which is weird, but I mean, I don't think Grenard might be the Viking agent signing since Steve Hutchinson, maybe Adam Thielen. It's a little different because that's a UDFA, but I mean, as far as getting an established player, I think Jonathan Grenard was a great signing. So he's helped the defense. He's looked great. Jonathan Grenard, I acknowledge you.
Is he a better free agent signing than Sam Darnold?
Oh, huh. That's a good question. This whole, I mean, you could do that with the entire class. Like
he's better than Aaron Jones.
Yeah. Blake Cashman. It's his birthday, dude. Come on. That was uncalled for.
He's old now. He's 30.
He probably stayed up late watching Survivor Series because he's a big WWE guy.
He's gonna start losing his hair now, right? Start.
Okay. That was low on his birthday. Come on, man. Oh, Jesus.
He's got the Bret Michaels Hulk Hogan thing going on.
Yeah. He should just go full skullet at this point. What's up, brother?
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of going low, we got one more thing to do here, and that's preview the Vikings and the Falcons. We always like to talk to Adam a little bit about the game since he doesn't come on the late week episode. So let's just get your early thoughts. Should Kirk Cousins be cheered when he goes back to US Bank Stadium? What are you thinking about the Falcons right now?
Yeah, I think he will be cheered.
Will he even start?
Yeah, I think he will. As much as people would like him not to, I don't think this is the game to insert a rookie quarterback on the road against, the defense that's generated the most pressures in the league. I think if you want to start Michael Penix the following week, even on the road against the Raiders, is a much better situation for Michael Penix to start than Kirk Cousins. Vikings are favored by 4.5, I believe, right now on FanDuel, which I think it was 6 yesterday, so it might have fallen. I don't know why, or maybe it was 6 a while ago, but still. The Falcons have lost 3 in a row. They were 6-3. Now they're 6-6. They have looked pretty bad. Kirk Cousins specifically. They lost to the Chargers now, the Broncos. They got killed by the Broncos 38-6. They lost to the Saints, and I believe the game, their first game after firing Dennis Allen. But they beat the Cowboys, and they beat the Panthers. And they beat the Saints. Oh, actually, you know what? They beat the Eagles. That's one of the Eagles' 2 losses.
On Monday Night Football.
That was very early in the season. That was a weird game. But yeah, Kirk Cousins coming back. I'm sure he'll. Well, does he deserve a tribute or whatever? Like, what are they going to show his tribute? Throwing to C.J. Ham and Johnny Munt like on the screen a bunch of times. Like, I'm sure Kevin O'Connell will have a lot of nice things to say about Kirk Cousins since he actually did want him to come back last year, and now he realizes that it was best for them to go their separate ways. Although I would assume that Kirk Cousins would probably be playing better than he is right now with the Falcons. But the Falcons, yeah, they're coming in US Bank Stadium. I feel like the crowd's going to be super loud, and I would expect the Vikings to come out of that game with a win. Knowing the Vikings at this point in the season, they've seemed to return back to the cardiac Vikings. So the game will come down to probably the final drive or two, and the Vikings will win by 1 score. And they could potentially get Will Reichert back before the next game. Although Parker Romo has been pretty good. He missed the 1 kick yesterday, but I think that was the only kick he's missed so far. He's been pretty good.
Julian Marker commenting says, "Afternoon skull, Julian."
Still morning for me.
Yeah, yes. Adam's on the West Coast in sunny San Diego. It's let's look at this here. 15, and we got a bunch of snow last night in Brookings. So looks like Christmas out here.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at the Bears president, former member of the Vikings, Kevin Warren, saying, quote, "This will be the most coveted job in the National Football League this year." You couldn't even let me finish. That's a good one. Good one, Kevin. Good one.
Shit. You gotta sell it. You gotta sell the job.
Good one, Kevin. What's a Jets job gonna be the next most coveted too?
Yeah. That I don't know. Maybe the Jaguars will be up there now that their quarterback's like drinking through a straw.
Yeah, that was bad.
Ugh, that was not a good situation. Back to the original question. Kirk Cousins, should he be cheered or booed? You know, you mentioned, I mentioned it looks like Christmas outside. This is like, you know, I don't know if your wife makes you watch those Hallmark movies. Like, I don't. I know what basically. So, like, my TV, I swear to God, this is what happens. My TV is a smart TV, and it goes to a movie hub. But, like, during Christmas, it goes from, like, I think it's romance movie hub to Christmas movie hub, and it's like all these dogs or all these movies, like A Dog Walker's Tale, and like, you know, just stupid. Like, I see the titles and I'm just like, why do people watch this? But like, this is like the movie where like a guy gets dumped and he's like, oh, I can't believe you're dumping me, and like his life's over, and then he loses 30 pounds and he gets shredded and he finds this awesome girl, and then he runs into his ex again. And the ex is like, oh my God, he really is happy. And the ex is just a total bitch. It's not that Kirk Cousins left. I'm not upset that he left. I'm not even mad that he took the money. People take money all the time in the NFL. It's how he left, because the Vikings bent over in ways that can only be found in the dark corners of the internet for Kirk Cousins after they fired Mike Zimmer in 2021. We got a coach that likes him. We got a general manager that gives him pretty solid. He's got a voice in the locker room, right? He blew his Achilles, and they had him blow the Geller horn. He's going to high schools, and people are going, Skull, Skull. We like you, Kirk. We really like you. And his response was, well, it's not about the dollars. It's what the dollars represent. He goes, he takes the money in Atlanta, and then you can just see this is like one of those guys who just tries to be what he's not so people will like him. He is a quarterback Ken doll. You can put any kind of clothes you want on him. You can put a chain on him. You can put an oversized Falcons sweatshirt on him. You can put he's Kirko Chains. Everybody look, he's so cool. But he's the same quarterback over and over and over again that can't overcome for things. I just listed a whole bunch of things like the offensive line, the playmakers. Everybody's got questions about those in Atlanta. And now even the front office is going, was this a good idea? Should we have signed a 36-year-old quarterback coming off a torn Achilles? The Vikings went 10-2 with Kirk in 2022, but it wasn't like this. The DVOA is significantly better, offense, defense, all the way around. They have a better winning margin. And like, here's what bothers me. Kirk could have stayed here, made a lot of money, been a hero. And maybe next year it's like, hey, I've made enough. Let's help out JJ McCarthy. Let's get him ready. And I mean, I can retire a Viking, which is something he said when he signed here. Also something he said when he signed with the Falcons, but we all know how that's going right now. He cannot be slighted in the least. If it weren't for Aaron Rodgers, he would be the pettiest quarterback in the NFL because he couldn't even handle Bo Levi Mitchell, whatever the hell his name was, being a backup for him. I hope he gets booed. I don't want to see the Minnesota Wild tribute video like, here's Kirk Cousins. What are you going to show? The playoff win against the Saints where, he basically he made 2 good throws and got $100 million off of it. Pretty damn good if you ask me. The 33-point comeback against Colts, you want to show that? Cool. That's fine. But I mean, outside, or even the win against the 49ers last year, right? That was a big Kirk Cousins moment. He can win in prime time against a contender team. I hope Brian Flores makes his life a living hell for 3 hours and then extends it. I want it to rot in its brain. I want this to burn in his memory. He seems like a good dude outside of certain things, but you might want to come in on Tuesday to study up for this one because you're about to get your ass kicked.
Oh my goodness. Before we get out of here quick, because we're running over time, who would you rather have right now on your team as your quarterback? Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers?
Probably Kirk.
Yeah.
After I just destroyed him for a good 3 minutes.
Well, did you see Rodgers threw his whole team under the bus yesterday?
Yeah.
I'd rather have Kirk. No, yeah, Kirk's. I think after yesterday, it was like, I played terrible. Everyone else played good, and I was terrible, which is true. Yeah. But Rodgers would have been like, well, that one was tipped, and then the cadence was off, and then he ran the wrong route, and then the running back got in the way, and then that's why I threw 4 interceptions. But yeah, so I would agree with you. I'd go with Kirk Cousins. Which So Aaron Rodgers, just can we stop with the him going to the Vikings rumors next year too? Like, I think those were really funny when everyone's like, "Oh, Rodgers done with the Jets," and it's like, yeah, but he's not. He's probably not playing ever again after this season. So,
well, since we're running over time, I'm just gonna end it like that. You got an early prediction, by the way, just quickly.
Vikings 31, Falcons 23.
I will reveal my prediction later in the week. That's what we call a tease in the business, folks. But make sure you check out the Viking Age. Lots of breaking news, lots of other stuff. This is the Vikings Age podcast. I'm Chris Schad at The Real Chris Schad. My co-host is Adam Patrick at Adam Patrick NFL. We do this every Monday with a late week episode right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. We're also in podcast form on Apple and Spotify the very next day. But however you consume us, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode and we can spread the word to the masses. For Adam Patrick, I am Chris Schad. This has been the Viking Age podcast.